Well, the trees are starting to change colors. More importantly, the temperatures overnight are going down in the lower 40s, which means it won't be long till we'll have some freezing nights. So I thought I'd give you an overview of winterizing the RV, at least how I do it. Now, yours may vary. I highly recommend getting the owner's manual for your RV. If you don't have one, go to the manufacturer's website. I'm willing to bet they've got it out there in a PDF form that you can download. You want one that matches your year and your model, because each RV can be a little different. So I am doing the cold temperature storage water system winterization, and I've done this a number of times, and I've even made some more notes to myself as to additional things I like to do, because quite frankly, I can't remember from one year to the next. So that's how I do it. I'll give you, just a quick overview as I'm going through it. We're going to start with draining the hot water tank. No, I'm sorry. We're going to start with draining the fresh water tank by opening the freshwater drain valve. Your model number as to where that is, model type, that may vary, but let's do that. I am draining the water, the freshwater tank. Just a matter of waiting for that to be done. Freshwater tank is just dripping its final contents out. So the next step is to run our pump. In order for the pump to run, we need to actually create a drain or a demand. So we do have, by the way, there's still water in the hot water tank. So, if we're on hot, we may get some pressure coming out there. We're simply on cold, so there's no demand from the hot water tank. So let's go up to the control panel, turn our pump on. You can hear the pump running. So now we're pushing the remaining water that's in the lines out. This faucet is kind of on the high side. Just for yucks, I'm going to open up the bathroom, and I'm going to go outside. I'm going to hook up open up the outside shower, which is kind of a low point in this system. Which is basically this. And we'll turn on cold water. Yeah, so now we're getting a little water out of there, so we just let that pump a little bit. We're not going to get everything out this way, but that's what the compressed air will be for. But we get a lot of it out. Here's pushing air. So that's good enough. That was over a minute. I'll turn the pump off. Well, the next step in my instructions were to pull the drain screen out of the water pump. That's hard to film, but I took care of that. So now we're going to go to the hot water heater. So I've got the necessary tool I need, and I'm going to pull that cover off, and we'll take the necessary piece out. I don't know what that thing is called. I'll show you where it is. Here we are at the hot water heater outside. So this is what I'm going to pull out. By the way, the hot water heater has been turned off for over a day, so hopefully the water's not too scalding. So I'll get that off. So I've loosened this up. I'll try to film this while I take it off. Might be a little tricky. I don't really want to get burned. Oh, it's cold. No problem. No problem. So this is the piece I'm pulling out. There might be time to put a new one of these in. I forget what they call this thing, but basically it helps collect all the sediment, as you can see. You can see there's sediment coming out of the tank. It's good to purge this once a year anyways. So now we'll just let that drain. Oh, and the other thing is I'm going to open the relief valve here. Just to let some air in the top of the tank. Help it to drain a little better. I think they call this an anode rod, but what happens is they're kind of sacrificial, right? The materials in this thing start to disappear as it's used up. So, you can just kind of tell how far along they are before it's going to need to be replaced. This is probably be all right for another season or 2 or 8. We'll see. Still got lots of water coming out of here. Just gotta wait for it to finish. We're drained. I'm gonna put this back together so it's ready to go in the spring before I move on. I'm now under the sink, and before I can blow out the lines, I need to bypass the hot water heater. So this is the bypass valve. Right now it's in the position where cold water will feed into the hot water tank. And what we need to do is turn it off so it won't do that. So I'm just going to turn this. It's always a little confusing here. There you go. And turn it this way. So now we're on bypass. That's where we want to be if we're going to blow air through it. Remember that this tank is empty now. We don't need to worry about water in the tank. Another important thing is to open some faucets before we start blowing air through the line. So I have this one open. The instructions to tell you open all of them. I don't think that's really necessary. We're not going to use that much pressure, but as long as we got a couple of them open, we'll be fine. I'm going to open the one. Let's open the bathroom too. For now, we'll just put that. Yeah, it is open already. Okay, so now we go hook up our air line. So to blow out my lines, I use this little fitting. This goes into the water supply side where you would normally plug your hose, and this is a quick connect that I can hook right to my compressor hose. So I'll get this in line where the water feeds in next. I have that connected. I don't have the air compressor on, but there's some little pressure in the tank. So we're getting some pressure. This is open. I did get some water coming out there. Just for yucks, one thing I like to do is, this is in the normal position right now, I like to open it and push through that supply line that goes to the water tank. And I just make sure I got have no water in there. All right, let's start the compressor. We'll go inside. So you don't want to use a lot of air pressure, and air compressor is not really capable of creating a lot of pressure. What I like to do, I got that one, you saw I had that one outside open. So I like to close some of the other ones, try and, focus on the one. Let's start really trying to get the shower to get drained out. So I'll just let that go for a while. This one's closed. So the other two that are open, I always try and keep two of them open. So if I close the shower, I still got one open. There's not going to be any unusual pressure buildup. Yeah, almost get just air. The shower's pretty well purged. I'm going to say this one's basically purged. Let's open up the kitchen sink. And then I'll turn this one off. We do need to also, flush the toilet. We want to get any of the water out of the toilet. There's a macerator toilet, but you still want to get any water out of there. Just do it one more time. I think we're pretty well purged even out here, so I'm going to turn the compressor off. All right, so I'll take that off of there and put my hose connection to it. Well, what I'm going to do is, what I mean by that is put this back on. Next thing we need to do is pull the water filter canister out. That's underneath the sink, and drain any remaining water out. It's a great time to change a filter if you like to do that annually. So I will take care of that now. Well, I got that filter off. I always put a frying pan underneath the filter in case I get some water leaking, and it goes into the frying pan, not into the cabinet. And there was a little bit of water left in it, and I just got to put it back together, Important thing here is you want to get this on right and tight, because in the spring, you got to turn on the water. If it's not, the place to look for leaks is right here, because the most likely place we're going to get a leak in the spring. So, you know, try and do it right here. The other thing I do is I always put my bypass valve to the normal location. So in the spring, I don't have to think about whether or not I got my, you know, hot water heater loading, because, you know, if you don't get that thing filled up with water before you turn it on, you know, you can burn out your electric element. Ask me how I know that. All right, now we're at the stage where we have to dump the tanks. So I got to move the RV to where I can do that. I'm going to leave this here, this compressor here, because when I come back, we're going to blow out the sandy flush lines as well. And we'll, you know, obviously we're going to run the sandy flush before we do that. So we'll be back to that. All right, I'm all set up to dump my tanks and use the sandy flush to try and flush out the black tank as best I can. You know, I do have a macerator pump on this. Then we'll come back here and I'll show you what we're going to do with the antifreeze. Well, the dumping process is complete. I have disconnected the hose from the sandy flush connection. As you can see there, the valves are closed, and now we're going to do the antifreeze routine. And I'm going to leave the macerator thing hooked up for the time being, and I'll show you why. Okay, so in each of the drains inside the RV, I'm going to put about a cup of antifreeze. I don't know what a cup is, about there. Any excess that I put in is going to go down into the, you know, the waste tanks. So that's overflow into the waste tanks. Not a problem, right? But we want to make sure the traps have antifreeze in them, because there will be water stuck in the traps. Now, the last thing we're going to do is dump antifreeze in the macerator toilet. And, you know, the main thing there is, you know, there's still water in the traps and stuff. But any excess antifreeze here, give it a good shot here. Any excess is going to end up draining down through the macerator end of this, end up in the black tank, which is fine. Okay, got that done. We will go back outside. Remember, any excess we got out of that toilet went into the black tank. Black tank's basically empty. That antifreeze has moved towards, you know, where the dump is. So I'm going to turn the macerator on. I'm going to open up the black tank dump valve for a little bit. Let it run, get some of that antifreeze down into the macerator. And I'm going to do it. There we go, I can button this back up. Now, you know, I have started to blow out the sandy flush thing, at least that's what my notes say. So, you know, I'll go back, I'll hook up my little connection there, and I'll just quickly put a little compressed air there. Make sure all the water that's in those plastic lines of the sandy flush going to the black tank, you know, get pushed out of there. It doesn't say that in my instructions from Leisure Travel, but maybe I saw that in another video somewhere. So that's kind of a last thing I do. I don't know if it's necessary or not. When you do disconnect this, you know, it's a lot of water drains out of it. So I don't know that anything is really trapped in those lines, but my guess is probably not. But I'll do that anyways, and I'm going to call this good. Well, that's it. I got this done, got it tucked away. So now if it gets real cold, I don't have to worry about it. So my recommendation to you would be, make sure you have the instructions that go with your manufacturer, your model, and your year, because these things can change from one year to the next, one model to the next, and certainly from one manufacturer to the next. Everybody does things a little different, and they change from one year to the next. You know, ours came without a Truma on-demand water heater as an example. You know, if yours has a Truma, it's going to be different. You know, if you have a Murphy bed, I bet you it's going to be different. If you don't have a macerator, it's going to be different, perhaps. So anyways, you know, these are all things you need to take into consideration. If you found it helpful, really appreciate a like, a subscribe, a comment, whatever you got. Take care now. Bye.